Welcome to the Upwind podcast. Sometimes the most extraordinary journeys don't begin under clear skies. They start in the middle of a storm. When the wind shifts against you, when the horizon disappears, and yet you choose to believe that somewhere there's a gust waiting to lift you home. In sailing, when you're heading upwind, you feel the knocks that push you off course and the lifts that carry you closer to your mark. Life and business move much the same way. The beauty isn't in finding perfect conditions. It's in learning to tack, to trust the shifts, and to lean into every hard-earned lift. But even more than that, it's in learning to trust your interpretation of those shifts. Your perception of subtle changes in the wind, and to make the most optimal decisions, to trust that decision and to act on that inner knowing in those conditions. An unskilled sailor might not even notice when the wind shifts. Sometimes the signs are so subtle, and you really have to trust yourself, your experience, your instincts, to recognize them and act. That's what sets you apart. That's what moves you forward. That's what the winners must all do. Today, I'm honored to introduce someone whose life is a testament to that journey. She's the founder of Livewell, a chain of clinics and a health movement born from purpose and pain. She's also someone I'm proud to call my sister. This episode is about rebuilding a country's approach to care and a woman who's not just healing, but helping others to do the same. Welcome, Dr. Emma Dash. When you think about sailing upwind, what comes to mind from your own journey?
Well, we both have a lot of experience in this, as we sailed for our country in dinghy sailing from the age of 8. And I think that question has two sides to it, the answer. One, I think of resistance when every step feels like pushing a big boulder up a hill, when doors are closing, when the PTSD hits, when the anxiety kicks in. But then the other side of it is knowing that you always have the ability to choose and to listen to your inner voice and your intuition. And that's always the best way. And taking the lifts when the winds change and keep going.
Okay, do you remember what it was like when we started sailing?
Yes, I do.
Okay, tell me what you remember.
I remember being super tiny. My nickname was Spaghetti or Matchstick because I was so skinny with a head. And when the wind is bailing and your whole little body has to be hiked out the boat for stability, because stability equals speed. And the waves are like skyscrapers. And you have to choose your hard. Like, you're either going to be in pain from hiking out, tired from holding the ropes, or you're going to capsize. And if you capsize, that means bailing your boat and everyone passing you. You're definitely going to lose if you capsize. You're not going to win that race. So yeah, choosing your hard.
Do you remember what it was like to capsize?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, tell me.
It was cold. Your boat was full of water. There's no self-bail. We sailed Optimists. There's no self-bailer. You have like 2 buckets that were like laundry detergent buckets with the end cut off. And the wind's flapping, like you're by yourself. There's no one is coming to save you.
It's stress.
It's you and God. Yeah, it was stress.
Bare stress.
Yeah.
Bare stress. That's why I feel business and life is there's just so much synergy to being a little kid on the horizon, sailing opties with a start line full of chaos and having to chart your mark and get ahead of the pack to have any chance of winning and to really sail in your own air, clean air.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when the wind shifts, it's so subtle. You know, you really have to believe in your experience to even comprehend that the wind has shifted and you need to act immediately. There's no time to second guess it. Did the wind just shift? You know, it's like the difference between, it's a few degrees in the boat, right? The few degrees that will you tack onto that, and it costs money to shift. It costs time to shift. Every tack is extra time, you know?
It costs comfort to shift sometimes as well.
It costs comfort. You have to move. Yeah, exactly. Before we get into Livewell and your work today, let's rewind for a moment. You were accepted into Canada's most prestigious business program, Queen's Commerce, but you chose medicine at the last minute. And not only that, you ended up graduating at the top of your class and receiving Intern of the Year at the QEH Hospital. Tell us about that decision. What was that like?
So yeah, it made no sense. I didn't actually know what I was doing, but I felt that it was misaligned doing business. And I had worked super hard for that spot, like really, really hard. And I didn't know if I was going to get accepted in medicine. But I knew that I wanted to serve and be close to people. And I've always had this belief since I was a child that we are all placed on this earth to serve each other in one way or the next. And it just felt more purposeful. And what better way to serve than through medicine?
Was there a key moment? Like, did you volunteer during
school? So I had some friends, summer vacation. And both of us went to boarding school. And I think it was grade 11, like the last minute I decided. And I was on summer vacation and two of my friends were volunteering at the pediatric ward. And they were like, come, you'll love it. Like, this is right up your alley. And I was like, okay. And one day, and I was sold. And I was like, Dad, I want to do medicine. He's like, you haven't done physics since Form 3, which is like age 13. He's like, you're going to have to start physics in grade 12. And I was like, okay, let's do what we have to do. And I did it and I pushed through. And yeah, I even accepted my position at Queen's Commerce because you have to accept that a lot earlier than I didn't even know I was going to get accepted to medicine. Like, I got accepted to medicine in like July. And Queen's Commerce started like August, middle of August. And yeah, I just didn't get on the plane to Canada.
Okay, before we dive into your journey as a founder, I want to ask something that stood out to me early on. You've always seemed deeply driven, not just to succeed, but to serve. Even in choosing medicine over business, it feels like you were guided by something greater, a sense of duty to Barbados, to make a difference, to be exceptional. Where do you think that sense of responsibility came from?
I think it started in our home. Giving back and serving others was always extremely important. Watching Mum do it with such pride, I knew that that's where I got my sense of serving from. And not to do it for recognition, but doing it because it was the right thing to do. And coming from such a small island, I feel like there's this constant subtle pressure that everything you do affects your country, right? And our country has such rich potential that we have to show up and serve on our highest level. And through healthcare, the health of our nation affects every single sector of society. And so many people don't realize that. Like,
can you tell me a little bit more about our home and Mom and that commitment to service? What was it? If you had to pinpoint it, you know? When I think of Mum too, I think of service, you know, always being able to get back to a customer quickly. But
it wasn't just that. It was the Christmas dinners for the families in need, like every single Christmas, like no matter what. Like, she took Christmas lunch before any of us ate. She took Christmas lunch to those families. Our mom was very intense, right? And it was her way or the highway. So I think the sense of service, it wasn't an option. It was expected in our household.
Yeah.
So that's a solid like foundation when it comes to service.
Right. So just hardwired into our operating system.
Yeah.
Got you. Barbados is in a health crisis. Too many people wait until it's too late to see a doctor. How do you see Livewell helping shift that culture?
I believe in preventative care. We have a public healthcare system that is very strained and it's under pressure, especially when everyone's showing up at end stage or high blood pressure, diabetes, having a stroke. like a heart attack. Like it's not going to work. And so Livewell was created to be that bridge, to know your numbers before it's too late, to feel peace and calmness about presenting to a doctor, and to a doctor that's going to hear you, right? It's very important to feel heard. And a lot of people are scared of doctors, right? So I wanted it to be a relaxed place that people felt comfortable showing up, no matter what the question was, no matter what the complaint was. And I think as a world, as a society, like we have to move towards prevention medicine, proactive, not reactive medicine. Right? It just makes sense.
Okay. Can you tell us about Livewell? What is Livewell? Explain the model, explain the business.
So Livewell is a chain of low cost, affordable primary healthcare clinics that I founded as a necessity, that I felt was a necessity. I spent nine years in a low cost healthcare clinic in the east of the country, and I ended up seeing 40 patients a day, 7 days a week. And I realized this non-communicable disease problem was becoming critical, and it was affecting younger people, right? Like when you have a 35-year-old with heart failure from blood pressure when they're younger, like that's an issue. Like that's not normal, right? And the only thing we can do about it is prevent it. And it's not just by educating. Yes, when we know better, we can do better. But people need to feel seen and heard and motivated. And they have to show up for themselves, right? In honesty, and understand that, like, what's going on. And it all, like, it's not black and white. It's a lot of gray, right? And we have to be honest with ourselves. And we have to heal trauma. We have to think about our bodies before it's too late.
One of Livewell's founding goals was to reduce the burden on the public healthcare system. How do you do that in a way that respects everyone's dignity while still pushing for earlier care?
You educate. You make people feel seen. You bridge the gap from reactive to proactive medicine. You provide affordable healthcare that everyone can afford. Like we charge $30 Barbados, which is 15 US. Normal primary healthcare practitioners are starting at 60 to 100 US a consult. Yes, we have the public healthcare system, but they're overburdened and under-resourced. And they would be, especially when everyone's showing up in late-stage disease, right? When the turkey's cooked, burnt, crisp.
You've talked about the phrase, know your numbers. Blood sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol. Why does that matter so much?
Because early detection is key. And when you catch these things early, when you start seeing the rise, you can change your habits. You can change your lifestyle. You can change what you're eating. You can change your exercise, your movement. We also can't forget stress. Stress is a big part of chronic illness and inflammation. And all those things can be rearranged, like meditation. It's not always about the work. It's about healing trauma, being able to deal, like getting your parasympathetic nervous system back on track. Like a lot of us live in fight or flight. Our sympathetic nervous system is running us. We're just going as a trauma response to get through the day. But you don't have to live that way. Like you can heal.
You can change when the wind shifts.
Exactly.
You can tack back.
Even when it feels so hard. We have to choose our heart, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
Like what's harder, doing the work or having a chronic illness that leads to a stroke or a heart attack, bedridden for the rest of your life?
I have a question. There's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, and a study was recently done seemingly that 80% of chronic illness actually are developed from our emotional systems. How do you see emotional distress affect and materialize into health issues.
100%. Our issues store in our tissues. And in order to live fully healthy lives, free of disease, we have to deal with those past traumas. We have to remove them through mental health, affects physical health. And there's lots of ways through somatic healing, energy healing, meditation, being honest with yourself. And that's the first step towards true healing.
Let's talk about the 10,000 step challenge. What is it? How did the idea come about? And what kind of impact did the first one have? How many people participated?
So this is going to sound crazy, but the 10,000 step challenge actually came to me in a dream. Must have been my subconscious at work. And there are studies that show the direct effect and improved quality of life and longevity by doing 10,000 steps a day. Like, there's leaps and bounds of increased health outcome. Our first one was last year. We had 160 participants. We had amazing outcomes. People lost like 50 pounds, came off blood pressure medication, reduced their blood sugar, created community with their family. Another part of the 10,000 step challenge is our habits that are formed in childhood are lifelong habits, right? So people that are seeing their parents at home, come home from work and watch TV or be on scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or anything like that, like that's probably what they're going to do when they grow up, right? But if you come home and your family's like, look, girls, look, boys, we got to go do some exercise, whether that be going and playing tennis or swimming or walking in the neighborhood, when the toddlers ride their bike or the kids ride their bike, it's exercise, right? And that becomes normal and that becomes embedded in who you are, right? And these non-communicable diseases, it's not just a Caribbean problem, it's a world problem. Where as tech and everything becomes more advanced, people are moving less and it's shown, right? So we do have to, in some cases, like obviously tech is amazing and beneficial for all humans, but sometimes we do have to think about ourselves and our body and what make us human and how important that is to live healthy, happy, joyful lives.
You and I share this belief that knowledge isn't enough when it comes to health and what's right and what people should do, right? The knowledge alone doesn't make people act. People need access to empathy and motivation. How has that belief shaped how Livewell operates?
On our core, we make our patients feel seen, right? And I think in a world that's constantly moving at faster and faster pace, and more than not, people are in sympathetic nervous system, flight or flight. Being seen is really, really important. And making our patients understand that they can trust themselves and they can trust their intuition. And the importance of screening and preventative care before the disease is full blown or spread, or at stage 3 and your heart is shutting down, your kidneys are shutting down and you need dialysis.
I want to talk, you worked in the low cost, so you graduated from school, you worked in the hospital for a couple of years, then you went to work in this low cost clinic, right? Where you were seeing 40 patients a day, 20,000 plus patients in total. You built up a breadth of experience from that experience. COVID came, you were working every hour God sent. Tell us about that. And then what happened at the end of 2020, 2021?
So yeah, I used to see 40 patients a day and I'd work really hard and then I would take off. Like probably every 3 weeks, I would go away for a few days just to reset and come back. And then COVID hit and you couldn't fly. So I was like, well, if I can't leave, like I might as well work every day. And people were sick. Like we needed the manpower, right? And yeah, I kind of lost myself a bit. I stopped exercising. I stopped meditating. I buried my traumas. I wasn't dealing with them. I wasn't showing up for myself. I was showing up for my patients, but I wasn't showing up for myself. And I kind of hit a wall. And you saw this. And it was probably more the end of 2021 that I was really burnt out. And it wasn't the hard work. It wasn't seeing the 40 patients a day. It was not seeing myself more, right? And not keeping up with what I needed to do to perform and to serve others. And yeah, it was you that dragged me to this conference in Saudi. And the plan was to take me with you to this delegation in Rwanda. And yeah, it was, you ended up harming yourself by falling, or no, you ruptured your calf muscle and you couldn't walk. And you're like, well, I'm not going to Rwanda if I can't walk. You got to go for me. And I went, and it was in the lobby. I was tired. I was irritated. I'd just flown forever. They left me at the airport. No one was there to pick me up, as they promised. And there was this man who's now a good friend and ally to Livewell, talking about producing healthy condiments for export. Condiments in the Caribbean are very important. Our sauces are very important, but they come along with risk. They have a lot of salt, they have a lot of sugar. So producing healthy condiments, I was like, that's a great idea. And I was like, I have 20,000 patients and a lot of them have diabetes and hypertension. And like, we need this. And someone tapped me on the shoulder and they're like, it's for export only. And I was like, what? I snapped. I lost my mind in that moment. I'm surprised that Mark is still my close friend and ally. I guess he saw that my passion and vision for our country, it made sense. And here we are with Livewell 2 years later.
So you hit the wall. I was like, this working every hour God sends is not sustainable. I have to work. I'm taking you with me. Next stop, Saudi Arabia. For FII, right? Beautiful conference center in the palace with the world leaders of all the largest corporations in the world moving and shaking. And I was like, we're going to a breakfast. You're coming with me. And at the breakfast, you have to go around the table and be like, hey, I'm Lily, I do this. Hey, I'm Christiane and I do this. And you just floored everybody, right? Like you told them your story and it was real and it was authentic. And it was another world away from this like global high finance crypto space that was just so earthy and real. And it really resonated. Do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah, I was just being very quiet and they're like, probably like, what? And someone said, what do you do? And I said what I did. And they were like, oh, wow. Like we thought we had problems dealing with regulations and you're dealing with like real problems. And yeah, I just told my story about what I did. And then we had like a week, I think, after Saudi, before Rwanda was supposed to happen. And we obviously weren't going back to Barbados to come all the way back. So we decided to come to Dubai. And you love playing tennis. Warming up is very important, guys. As a child, you're taught that. But we didn't think that was necessary. And we're there giving our best at tennis. And Lily drops to the ground. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I was like, has she just had a heart attack? Like, what's happened? Like, she's like flat on the ground. Like, she can't get up. She had a stroke. Anyways, go to the hospital. She's torn her calf muscle. And she's on crutches, rose gold crutches in Dubai. So I thought she was fine to come to Rwanda, but she didn't feel that way. And she's like, well, you have to go. So I went.
I was like, you should go. I was like, I have a feeling about this. You should go. I was like, leave me here in downtown Dubai. You go.
Yeah, this decision of me not going was made like 5 days before the conference. And then 4 hours before the flight, Lily's like, you should go. So it was a real rush. But I'm glad I did it for sure. And it was a place, like clarity came to me. I was in this place I didn't really know, like the conference, the delegation was strengthening economic ties between Barbados and Rwanda. And I didn't know anyone. I knew 2 people, probably. And I was like, what am I doing here? And it's like 3 seconds after I answered that question, I started talking to Mark, and the whole thing about the exporting of healthy condiments and none for Barbados happened. And I lost my mind. And it was a moment of clarity. It was a moment of listening to your inner voice. And it's like, what do we really need here? And it wasn't moving from that one-on-one patient. I was still serving, but in a different way when I moved into this more entrepreneurial space of creating these clinics. I was at the point I was like, yeah, seeing 40 patients a day is impressive, but am I really going to make a difference in our country? Like, am I really going to be able to flatline the incidence of these NCDs? Am I really going to be able to decrease these numbers and improve quality of life of a nation?
One patient at a time.
Or as a region? So I had to I had to come up with a bigger picture on how we could do this, like more scalable and more effective way to spread this knowledge.
ACTI has a quote that is repeated often, and it's one's potential is discovered when you come into contact with another person, right?
Yeah.
So what happened in Rwanda is you are a doctor, you're seeing 40,000 patients a day. You have this idea, 40 patients a day, thousands in the long run. You have this idea that's not fully baked. You think you maybe can do it, but it's really light, right? You come into contact with a group, the Barbadian delegation, the government, and they encourage you to do this. They ask you to write the concept note, right? You do it. You start to build momentum, right?
Yeah.
Mark is saying, I have this space. This is how we can support you. This is how Barbados we can be partners. And a month later, what happens?
It was actually 2 weeks later.
Okay.
So after Rwanda, they invited me to Kenya with them because the delegation was going to Kenya. I was like, initially Kenya wasn't the plan. And I was like, yes, because I say yes often. And Jonathan was like, look, write this concept note. And 2 weeks after landing in Barbados, I want it. And I was like, okay. Dario and I were in the back of the plane on the way back from Kenya to London. And I was like, Dario is very, very, very excellent with words. So Dario, can you help me do this? And he's like, well, what about the movies? And he's like, okay. And he helped me. Literally, we're in 2 middle seats. You know, on British Airways, there's like middle seats. There's like the 4 row. We're like in the 2 middle of the 4, cramped up. And we wrote this concept note. And it was pretty great. It wasn't finished. And 2 weeks after we landed in Barbados, Jonathan came. He's like, where's the concept note? And it just happened to be the day that one of the guys we had met in Saudi was being brought into Barbados to invest in real estate and had invited Lily and I to come over for dinner. He was there for 10 hours, right? 10 hours. And I was like, and that same day, Jonathan's like, where's the concept note? It's been 2 weeks, like the concept note. And I was like, it's not perfect. And then I was like, Lil, can you read this really quickly for me? And Lily's like, Chris, just read it out loud. And I was like, okay. So I read it out loud, and the man that had been flown in, that I had met in Saudi, was like, amazing. How much do you need for a clinic? And I said, how much? And he's like, okay, I'll do 2 clinics. And that's how it happened. And he came up to me after and he's like, I don't invest in ideas. I invest in people, and I believe in you. And I was like, is this real? It can't be happening. And it was real. We put together a business plan, and so said, so done.
Tell me about your team at Livewell and how they interact with patients.
I have a pretty great team. I have Jo, started from the beginning. She's at the front, and she remembers everyone's name by heart. And we all try to do that. And we try to come from a human interaction. Like a lot of people think that being a doctor is superiority, but it's not. Like we are all the same. We're all here to serve each other. And we're proud in the way we serve each other. And like what better way than to help people feel better at a place when they're vulnerable, feel comfortable at a place of vulnerability, without shame.
There's a quote, know thyself. How has that idea informed your journey, both in health and in healing?
In order to start healing, you have to be honest with yourself and what's happened and what you need to deal with before you could even start physical healing. Like healing starts in our mind and then through our body physically.
Were there any particular moments in your career that just like solidified why you do what you do? Like any particular patients?
Yeah, there's lots. I remember mom came in, childhood, shoved a crayon, orange crayon down his ear, 2-year-old. She was freaking out. And I totally took care of the situation and got it out quick time. And she was so grateful. Like, she's like, thank you for always treating us like family. And that feels good. Another one, like when patients tell you thank you for letting them feel seen. Like so many patients say, like 70-year-olds say, this is the first time I felt seen by a doctor and heard and listened to. And that's very important.
So often we want to wrap the story in a bow to say, I made it. But what does it mean to speak from within the process of healing, not the end of it?
It means telling the truth. Healing is messy. It's not linear. It's hard. It's sacred. There's no finish line. It's a continual journey. It's every day doing something that keeps your body, nervous system, and parasympathetic and not out of flight or flight, which is sympathetic. Yeah, all days aren't going to be the same. And that's okay. And just having the faith and leading into your faith and leading into your people and taking one day at a time. And know that you're here for a reason and we all have a purpose, no matter how big or small that might be.
Sometimes what is hurting us most isn't what others can see. How do you protect the parts of yourself that are still healing while serving others?
One boundary at a time. Yeah, I used to be very all or nothing. I used to put everyone before myself. I used to be always busy. I was a hard worker. And I feel like it was more now, after a lot of years of healing. I'm obviously still in it. I look back at that and say, like, that was a protective mechanism, right? Like the go, 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 go. Yeah, obviously I helped so many people at the same time. And there's no mistakes in life. Like everything happens for a reason. And I'm glad of all the mishaps and the traumas I've been through, because I wouldn't be so cool and awesome if I didn't go through them. And it allows you to assist people on a higher level, right? That I would never have been able to show up for my patients and show up for what I do now if I hadn't been through all that. And it's not easy. Like some days are still really, really hard, but you have to just think like one foot in front of the next. Like, why am I here? Pray, ask the universe, what's next? Our mindset, gratitude, not just saying thank you, like feeling the gratitude. And in my experience, like it always gets better. That you might think that it's never gonna, you have to just keep following the light, even when the shadows are right there. You just have to choose and make a choice to follow the light and get up. Surround yourself with good people that love you and want the best for you and want to grow with you and evolve with you, and that love you no matter what, even when you're being a really crappy person. When your life is built around service, like mine is, you begin to carry your pain with care and not with shame. There is no place for shame in any room, in any country, in our world. Shame is the lowest level of consciousness, and we don't want it. And this goes to parenting. Like, shaming your kids is the worst thing you can do. There's no benefits to shame. It's been studied. There's like a 50-year study about it. Like there's no positive outcomes to shame. And most people shame people when they're embarrassed of themselves. They're putting the shame. So please don't do it to your kids or to anyone for that matter. It can put people back leaps and bounds, and you never really know what anyone is going through at that time. Like everyone has something going on. Like be kind.
What guides you? What do you listen to?
My gut, my intuition, prayer, asking the universe, meditation, knowing that there's no finish line in this healing process. And we just have to keep hacking away at it one step at a time, knowing that at the end of the day, like we've done our service. At the end of the day, I remember being whole doesn't mean being unbroken. It means being able to push forward and contribute and serve and live in peace and love and joy.
What would you say to someone listening who carries a wound they've never named?
I tell them that's okay. However, we have to be honest with ourselves first. And even if that means writing it down or saying it out loud to yourself, I feel the real healing comes though when you can tell it to someone safe, someone that will understand and come from a place of love and not judgment. By releasing these traumas, as women, I feel when scary things like violations of our body happen, we think it's better to keep quiet, right? And not like stir the apple cart, or we're ashamed. But the true healing starts when you speak about your story. And it doesn't have to be to the whole world. It can be to that one person. And then the whole world if you want. But keeping it inside causes illness. Suppressing anything, suppressing anger, suppressing guilt, anything that's affected you, suppressing it to keep the peace is never worth it. Like we see in autoimmune diseases, 80% of autoimmune diseases happen in women because we suppress our feelings in order to keep the peace or in order to keep in line or being afraid of being judged or feeling dirty or not being accepted or loved for who we are or what's happened in our lives. So I think it's super important, super important to be honest with yourself and let it out, get it out.
When the trauma comes from something as personal as betrayal or violation, how do you start to feel safe in your own body again?
That's a hard question. And I'm not 100% perfect at this yet, but sometimes I meditate, sometimes I do tapping. More recently, I have been discovering Kundalini activation and upward cycle breathing. Firstly, when that happens, I find a safe space, right? Where do I feel safe?
Where do you feel safe?
Next to my sister. But we're like, you have to talk to yourself into it sometimes. You have to be like, okay, this happened 20 years ago or 23 years ago or however long it happened again. Like, this is not happening to me right now. Yeah. So box breathing helps. Like just in 1, 2, 3, hold out. Like that helps to calm your nervous system. But there's lots of different ways you can do it. And obviously I'm not perfect at it. And sometimes I just spiral into the abyss and feel like the world's ending. Yeah, that impending doom still happens. Obviously a lot less frequently than it did. But as I said, there's no finish line to healing. You have to show up for yourself every single day. That kind of violation doesn't just affect your trust in others. It affects your relationship and your trust within yourself. And that's the scary part. When you can't trust yourself, who can you trust? You start to question your instincts, your worth, and even your memory. And the hardest part is your body remembers things long after your mind tries to remove it. For me, feeling safe in my body has been a slow, intentional process, and it is never ending. It gets better though.
Okay, many of us are still somewhere in the middle of our healing journey, not at the start, not at the finish. In your experience, what gives you the strength to keep walking towards the light, even when the shadows are still so close?
Yeah, the middle ground is kind of a weird spot. You're like no longer in crisis, but you're not free. you still have that heaviness that, do I really want to wake up this morning kind of thing, but you've got to push through and you got to know that it's going to get better and there's light at the end of the tunnel. And you have to start thanking what happened as like a catapult towards the change and the greatness you can create for your people and your world.
In the Caribbean, there's a lot. I mean, this podcast is about truth. I'm not calling it out. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. I think you can only move forward from a place of truth and acknowledgement. Like change is impossible without acknowledgement of the fact that something might be wrong. Obviously in the Caribbean, there's struggle, right? I guess maybe particularly in the Caribbean, there's struggle within the culture. Like we have stats like 1 in 3 girls are sexually abused, 1 in 4 boys. There is a lot of shame just generally, like not even just in general, there's shame. You know, I remember being a kid, I must have been 10 years old. And the teacher was like, you have to head up your spelling book. I'm in a class of 30. You have to head up the spelling book from 1 to 30. And she said 1 to 15 on half the page, create a column, 15 to 30 on the next page. And I wrote it 1 to 30 all down this piece of scrap paper, right? It was like a long piece of scrap paper. And she got so angry with me. She shamed me out of the classroom. She asked me to go back to beginners. I was horrified. I was, I had a learning disability for sure. It wasn't diagnosed until much later on, till I was 17 or 18. But at 10 years old, I was like struggling with a learning disability and still trying to keep up with the rest of the class. And I made this one mistake and my nervous system was totally wrecked. The whole class was laughing at me and I was crying, and the beginner section was all the way in like another 2 buildings away. And yeah, I might have only been 9. Anyway, it was traumatic. But we do have that, there is an element of that, where you don't want to speak unless you're spoken to, where you have to really tread lightly, and things happen. How would you like to see us change our ways in that regard? Like, what can we do to show up? Like it almost comes from a place of like ambivalence, like we suffer silently and the boundaries aren't strong, and we let things happen that shouldn't happen anymore. We don't protect the youth as much as we should, and we look down. And sometimes you look down, like children shouldn't speak unless they're spoken to. Still in 2025, and that's not how the world is working right now, right? Like,
that's a really hard question. Yeah, I get it. We come from a shaming society, and as I said earlier, shame is the lowest level of consciousness. There's no benefit to shaming a child. It causes detrimental impact. There's studies about it. Discipline is important, and there's a fine line between discipline and respect. It also comes from anger. We have an angry world and society, and that anger spills over into shaming. What I would do is start meditation in all classrooms from the age of 4, every single day, 20 minutes. And by doing this, over time, you can change our society. And yeah, if you are ashamed, like meditation is so powerful. It regulates your nervous system, but not only that, more powerful than that is messages come to you from God, from the universe in that state and the way forward. Like we're constantly evolving, and we can all, instead of just a few receiving those messages, how best to show up and make the next move. Imagine if everyone was doing that and listening. Like imagine our world.
What does your dream future look like for Livewell and for yourself and for your country?
My dream for Livewell is that we can create a healthcare system that is proactive and not reactive throughout the entire world, that is human first and not transactional, that everyone can live more fulfilling, healthy lives. As I say all the time, we don't realize, some countries do. I see in like UAE, the move towards preventative healthcare is astounding. It's amazing. It's incredible. And they see it. They obviously can see the impact the health of your country has on your economic stability and growth, right? Like, what are we, in most countries, we're chasing that reactive that costs billions and billions of dollars. Like, it almost can cancel out complete other sectors like of innovation, like making things and selling them. Like, does it make sense if you're going to exchanging goods for money when you're spending so much money on healthcare? Like, we need to, where should the funds go? Like, a healthy nation.
Yeah. The math is not mathing.
Yeah. The math ain't mathing. For myself, more peace, more stillness, more freedom, more grace to evolve in the best way possible, to show up for myself and my world.
For your country?
World. My country in the world.
Your world. Good. Yeah. We went to a health conference in Abu Dhabi the other day, and M2, which is the organization that runs their healthcare here, they have a program to test every Emirati genome in full, so that the future generations don't have to struggle or suffer necessarily with those genes that exacerbate illness.
Yeah. It's super cool.
Wild.
Let's do this for the Caribbean.
Definitely. There's a quiet kind of power in choosing to rise again and again and again, even when no one is watching. Today, I hope you didn't just hear a founder's story, but a country's calling to take better care of ourselves and of each other. Because knowing your numbers, knowing your path, and knowing yourself, that's where the real health begins. Thank you, Chris, for reminding us that healing doesn't start in a hospital. It starts in our habits, in our homes, and in our hearts. Until next time, keep reaching, keep rising. I love you.
I love you too.
This episode of the Upwind Podcast is brought to you by Acti Advisors, a full-stack advisory platform for founders. We work side by side with entrepreneurs as embedded partners, guiding strategy, growth, and execution. From business development and client acquisition to finance and fundraising, we help founders remove barriers and scale faster, while connecting them to capital and world-class relationships. Acti Advisors, side by side with founders every step of the way. Learn more at actiadvisors.com.